I turned to my mother and I said, I've been doing this work, and through this work I've learned, that I have a lot of you and dads. I have a lot of y'all issues, And she said, without missing the beat, she said, they're your issues now. You can't hold the people who have done you harm and who have abused you. And it's not freeing them of their accountability, but at some point it's yours now. You have to deal with it. You know what I'm saying? My parents are not responsible, no matter how horrible they may have been, which they weren't, but no matter how horrible they may have been, I'm grown now. Mm-hmm. So I have to make decisions and better choices for myself and speak up for myself and take care of myself and release them from that. It ain't their fault. You right, you 55 years old, dog. You still mad at your dad?
Yeah. That's going to hit a lot of people. What's up, brother? It's your boy, Mike Muse. Welcome to the Conversation, the Mike Muse Show. I am so excited to be in conversation with my next guest for a multitude of reasons. This brother is a fantastic singer, a fantastic songwriter. I don't know him, but I just feel like every time I've seen him on television, he just has this ease of energy about him. And then a friend of mine gave me a little bit of exclusive sneak peek of the fact that he had a book coming out, and she raved about how the book was going to be. And audience, I don't allow authors to come up here often. I only have a very few authors. As they sent me a copy of it, and I was like, let me get into it first to make sure this is a conversation I want to do. And let me tell you, this book did not disappoint. I've learned so much about this author, and what was really interesting was I actually listened to his music while reading the book, and it had a completely different experience. The one I am talking about is the man KEM, and his book is Share My Life. It is out now, so please make sure that you get this. Ladies and gentlemen, the amazing KEM. What is happening, my brother?
Good morning. How you doing, man?
I'm feeling good. How are you feeling?
I'm great, thank you.
So let's get right to it. I'm from Lansing, Michigan.
Oh, there you go.
You're from Detroit, Michigan.
Yeah.
So there's just something about us Midwesterners that I really, really love. But what drew me to you initially was the uniqueness of your voice.
Yeah.
I think you have a voice that is so unique. And my audience knows this, but I used to be very self-conscious of my voice.
Yeah.
I didn't start appreciating my voice really until about maybe 6 years ago.
Yeah.
The irony now is that I make money off of my voice, but was completely self-conscious of it. I always thought my voice was too high, especially when I get excited. It goes up in multiple falsettos, and I try and modulate it all the time.
Yeah.
And so as a result, I'm always listening to tones and sounds
Mm-hmm.
of voices. With you, did you ever realize that you had a unique voice, both in speaking and in song?
You know what? It's interesting that you say that. I was insecure about my voice also. In fact, when I started, I didn't start out as a person who wanted to sing. I started out trying to write songs for other folks because of the insecurity that I had with my own voice. But just like you, there's a parallel, right? But look at me today, right? I've been doing this for 20 years, signed to the Motown label since my first album, Chemistry. And I think when I first started, I was identified with having an Al Jarreau meets Prince type vibe. And I think over the years, I've developed my own sound. And now I celebrate the uniqueness of my voice.
I do too.
Yeah.
Are you able to listen back to your material now, to your songs? Like if your song is on the radio and it comes on you driving down the highway, like do you turn it or do you listen to it? I haven't gotten there yet. I still cringe when I hear it, and my friends tease me to try and play it loud. I'm like, please turn it down.
With the records, it's I can listen to the music. I don't listen to it unless I just finished working on it.
Mm-hmm.
I won't go. I don't usually go back and listen to it. But I have the same thing with the live performance.
Oh.
Like having to listen to the live performance, dude. It's like, yo. I can't, it's just, yo, with the record, you have time to make it right and make it perfect, right?
That's a good point that you landed on, because with the live performance, just as I get excited, my voice goes up in falsettos and octaves. I can only imagine the energy transfers of the audience yelling, screaming, enjoying it, and I'm sure you absorb that.
Everything is in the moment, of course, right? Because the performance is a dialogue. It's not a monologue. Yeah.
Yeah. I just want to get into the book, and your book for me is such a social construct. I know that it's about unlocking your past, unlocking who you are to get us to the point that we are in. But the opening, and I'm so glad your mother is here with us today, because you talk about in the beginning of the book being from the South, your family is from generations from the South and sharecroppers, and they migrated up north. That literally is my family story, right? Like my grandmother moved from Georgia as part of like that great northern migration, moved to Michigan, right? My father moved from Virginia to Michigan as well to find work. And so I identified so much with that migration story and that migration pattern. But with that comes so many secrets of culture, right? And the silence, and right? And which you really talk about a lot in your book, right? That seems to be like a really good throughput about that silence. How much of the work of this book is really about like that social construct, right? Of like historical patterns.
Historical patterns, right? It doesn't in the book I talk about the dysfunction in our home, but it didn't start in our home. There's a lineage of silence, a lineage of addiction, a lineage of mental health issues, and it was important for me to share. And if you followed my music career, you've heard me touch on these things. But the book was the perfect vehicle to allow me to connect the dots, to go a little bit deeper, because when we share our stories with other people, we create opportunities, we create a window for them to heal.
And this book is for all people. But what I love is that there's such a narrative of like Black culture when it comes to that, because even I, living here in New York City, and the reason why I can identify so much with this book, I ended up meeting a cousin who I didn't know was my cousin. And so we were having dinner, and then one thing led to another. She was just a friend, and I was like, oh my God. And then we connected the dots that our grandmothers was from the same town. And I immediately left the restaurant. I went and I called my grandmother and to ask her about this. And the first thing my grandmother said, may she rest in peace, is, Mikey, leave that alone.
Yeah.
Right. And so, and you talk about that. You even outline it where you say they connect to my mother's blues and her mother's blues. Those connections are rhythmic. The rhythm is deep and historical, a rhythm without end. And I just couldn't help think about that conversation I had with my grandmother. And I couldn't help think about, as Black culture, there is this narrative of like silence.
This is grown folks' business.
Yeah.
Right. Go in the other room. You don't talk. Don't ask questions. You don't need to know why. Just do what I'm telling you to do. And as a child, and with our children, and I have children, so there is a place for that, but we have to understand that when children are in the room, children are they are being affected by everything that's happening in the house. So there needs to be you don't have to have a grown folks conversation with them, but you have to give them a sense of like what's going on, And
then I think coupled with that, you bring in religion a lot within this book as a foundation of it. And this isn't a critique on religion at all, but I think there is something about the honor that we give to the dogma of religion and Black culture, the dogma and the respect through the dogma that we give to the preachers and to the bishops and to the deacons, and they're so revered, right, that they can't be chastised, right, in a way that you had hoped that your mother's mother would have done. And I think this intersection of like silence, grown folks' business, coupled with the church and religion, really has, I feel, kept Black people from like finding and expressing their hurt.
Look, I didn't get saved by the ritual and the dogma of religion. That's not how I got saved. That's not what I didn't get saved in the church. Wait. My experience was it wasn't that I had to find faith in order to be sitting here with you today. It was life or death. Right. My faith is because I have to do this, and because of the principles that I've learned in my life, and learned that there is a creator, that there is a power greater than myself who can help me to navigate my life. Now I can go to church. Right now I can sit and listen, because I know firsthand. I don't need you to tell me what it is. I know what it is. You know what I'm saying? And I think and to your point, I think that gets lost. We get caught up in the tradition, and we're gonna do it on Sunday, and we're gonna do this, and it's like, no, I need this. I need to live.
I think I love that you said that. I wanted to take a moment. That's why I didn't offer any response to it, just to let that moment heal. Because, again, audience, this book for me, and I don't know what it is that you had hoped it would moderate. And I think that is the beauty of great art, is that art is for interpretation. Art is about how the person who's experiencing the art feels and what the takeaway is. Yeah. And for me, I just kept coming back to that place of social constructs of the migration and historical patterns and rhythms that you say that comes with us. I think a lot of it is we talk about generational curse. Yeah. Sometimes that curse can be so powerful, but I think it's just the rhythm and the patterns, right? Yeah. So you can insert whatever word that you choose to use. And then the spirit of shame. And I love the chapter about the birth of the shame, because that's also to what I believe the Black church has done, right? It is the shaming of individuals, all in the spirit of the letter of this law of the book. But just like you, I feel like I got released from that. Yeah. But as a result, I can still go to church knowing I have a disconnect from the dogma and more of a spiritual relationship with my God. Yeah, absolutely. Right? Absolutely. How did you help that along that journey? For me, it was actually like a preacher that I was listening to that kind of helped me undo my religious dogma of it. How were you able to separate that? On July 23rd
of 1990, and which is a pivotal point in the book, I was sleeping outside on the Detroit River and trying to nurse a can of beer so that the next morning I could hopefully get back into a treatment center. And I was spiritually, physically, emotionally bankrupt. I was bankrupt, dude. I had come to the end of my rope, and I was 23 years old, wondering what happened to my life. I didn't come from, we had 2 cars in the garage. My parents were college educated. I had every opportunity afforded to me. And I was in the throes of addiction, sleeping outside. And there's an adage that I love and I speak about often, that when the student is ready, the teacher appears. So I met some people. I was ready. It's like God is saying to you, yo, dog, are you done? You finished? If you're done, then I can work with you. If you're done trying to do it your way, I can work with you. And I met some people who showed me a better way to live, who set me on a spiritual path that is today the foundation of everything that I do.
I just want to bring into the conversation the idea of, because you talk about your parents, right? We always think that sometimes, someone once told me that because I have a certain type of job, a certain type of income, and I live in a certain type of area, that I don't get a chance to, I don't experience a lot of the isms and pitfalls that a lot of other Black Americans may experience. And that couldn't be further from the truth, right? Like, your skin color shows first before any of your bio or your resume. And I love this idea that people think that because you have money or because you went to college, that eliminates you from any other the woes. But your book, you perfectly outline that. It's about the rhythm of the past, right? The history that follows us. And until we deal with that, we won't be able to unlock our ability to tap into like this emotional discourse for healing. Absolutely. How did you become so comfortable in your emotion? Because that isn't part of what men usually do and open up so freely. I think this book is such a vulnerable discourse.
Great healing and transformation has taken place in my life because someone shared their story with me. In recovery circles, when you're with like-minded people on the same journey of recovery, we share our experience. And growing up in silence, my freedom came when I found that I had the ability to share what was going on inside of me. That was such a revelation, And today, we talk about everybody shares their truth, dude. To have the revelation that what was going, that I could go into a room full of people and talk about what was going on with me, and I didn't have to keep it bottled up. That was my healing. That vulnerability is the foundation. It's the touch point of healing. Yeah.
You in the book, audience, I want to just remind you, this is the book Share My Life. There's a chapter in there called Emsculation, right? Yeah. And so I'm just curious, like, why you chose to title that Emsculation, and how has that made you who you are today in your relationship to masculinity?
That chapter that chapter is describing a scene in which my grandmother is cutting the band of underwear around from my grandfather's waist, and their marriage was in turmoil, and it was the end of their marriage. She everything that he had done to her, what she was doing was, she was attacking his manhood. And I don't want to give it all away. Y'all got to get the book.
Oh yeah.
Y'all got to get the book.
We're just touching the scratches.
But yeah.
I like to talk about the chapters.
I'm very comfortable in my skin. I'm comfortable being flawed, man. I'm comfortable. I know what it is for me. I know when I can walk in a room, I know exactly who I am and where I come from, and it's cool, because I know that most of the people that we meet are crazy too. Just like that. right? We all got stuff. Yeah. Right? You don't get in or out of life without stuff. We all have stuff, so I make room for other people, and I expect them, and I make room for them to make room for me, and I'm cool even if they don't.
That is something I was thinking about, as it was such an exercise and an experiment. Audience, I would recommend listening to KEM's discography as you are reading this book, because what kept coming out as I was reading, I was listening, you take a lot of accountability in your songs, in relationships, about what you could have done. And for some reason, I kept repeating "Say." I've always loved "Say." But "Say" isn't always one of my go-to songs of yours. We all have our go-to songs from our artists, but for some reason, I kept pushing repeat on "Say." Talk to me about what you were thinking about when you wrote "Say," right? And in relationship to where is that at in the book? The book talks about, the book is you go back to this theme of silence. And a lot of my healing has taken place, and a lot of and all of our healing takes place, man. If we say what's going on, just say what's going on, just tell me what it is. I don't have to like it, and you don't have to. I can just tell each other the truth, right? We tell each other the truth, man, and it's like, okay, I can deal with that. As opposed, you don't put the truth on the table, and then we're dancing around, we're doing all this other stuff, and like, dude, just put the truth on the table. And if they leave, then now you're free to go do what it is that you need to do with the truth. And now I'm free to live in my truth and go do what it is with the truth. There's so much freedom in that. That comes from a strong constitution, though. Yeah. Right? Like, were you always that comfortable with that? Or did it take you having to go and deal with your past in order to do that?
It's a dance. It's still going on. There's still areas where there's still times and conversations that need to be had. But I've had enough experience. It's not perfection. It's progress, not perfection. So I have to be able to tell. I have to be able to tell you what it is. And as we get older, I don't know how old you are, but dude, you know what I'm saying? I'm not. Aging is mandatory. Getting old is optional. However, I don't have time to not tell you the truth. When I don't tell you the truth, when we don't tell the truth in our relationships, we holding people hostage.
Well, speaking of holding people hostage, it just made me, that was a beautiful line where you ended there, because like your mother is in the room, right? As we are discussing these moments.
Sitting in her truth, as I'm telling everybody's business, she's sitting there like,
in her truth. And there was a very powerful moment in the book for me where you discussed the moment, and then the chapter is Birth of Shame, and you're talking about how you came into the world, right? And I won't give away like all the stuff, audience, you do have to read it, but this this line was so powerful. It says, when mom became pregnant with me, her sister told their mother, who flew into a rage. She insisted that mom march into King's Temple, the church, stand before the congregation and confess her sin. Liz refused. If she had sinned, that was her business. And besides, she didn't see it as sin. She saw it as an older man who had seduced a young girl. Catherine saw it as shameful. And while mom might have beat back the notion of sin, shame was something she couldn't escape. I just thought that was so powerful in the sense of, I'm going to turn to your mom because she is in here. I thought that was just so powerful to stand in your own agency, at a time when we really didn't describe women or people having agency over body, right, and over mind. So I salute you for the courage that you had to sit in that truth and own your agency and to say it was a fault of him, someone twice my age who did this to me. I did nothing wrong. But so salute to you, Mom, for standing in your agency. But that goes to the dogma that we talk about the church and the performative nature, right? Again, and then protecting the pastor and the family, from all of that. As you are making bold statements, it's bold to be honest. It's bold just to say what you feel. It's bold and uncomfortable to live your truth and then to sit with those who may have caused you damage or who have been damaged, and there was a cycle of damage, but then there's a healing that comes with it. And for me, this is proof that when you say your truth, you can be vulnerable, there's still, the relationship still goes on, it's even stronger. Like, help me and my audience, how did that happen, right? Of being able to call things out, being open and vulnerable, saying your truth and living in your truth, and then be able to still be in loving relationship with each other. That's the hard part.
Yeah, I think my mom. I have this story, and I don't know that if I shared it in the book, but when I got sober, I went home one Thanksgiving, and I was sober and I was clean. It was the first holiday back in the, I was back in the house and I was, welcome to Thanksgiving dinner, and I'm washing dishes and I'm feeling myself, and I turned to my mother and I said, I've been doing this work, and through this work I've learned, that I have a lot of you and dads. I have a lot of y'all issues, and she said, without missing the beat, she said, they're your issues now. You can't hold the people who have done you harm and who have abused you. And it's not freeing them of their accountability, but at some point it's yours now. You have to deal with it. You know what I'm saying? My parents are not responsible, no matter how horrible they may have been, which they weren't, but no matter how horrible they may have been, I'm grown now. Mm-hmm. So I have to make decisions and better choices for myself and speak up for myself and take care of myself and release them from that. That's, it ain't their fault. You're right. You 55 years old, dog. You still mad at your dad?
Yeah. That's going to hit a lot of people.
It ain't his fault no more.
Yeah.
A lot of people ain't even here no more.
Yeah.
And you can't walk into your destiny because you're carrying that baggage. It's not their fault no more.
The reason that's going to hit people differently, and even is hitting me differently, is because I've had a hard time, Kim, accepting that narrative of the apology is for you.
Yeah.
Right? Like, that is, for me, I thought it was a very performative statement. Yeah. I believe it's a very generic statement. The apology isn't so much you're apologizing to the one who did affliction towards you, but it's about you releasing yourself. And I was like, I hear you. I don't really buy it. But there's something about what you're saying about the acceptance of it, of the apology, is more about allowing you then to take accountability for your own feelings.
Yes.
And I never heard it put that way.
It's not condoning anyone's behavior.
I never heard it put that way.
It's not condoning the misdeed. You understand? It's not that. It's that. It's like, I'm doing it. You're right. Forgiveness is, it is a selfish thing. And it's trite to say, oh, well, you forgive them and you're doing this for you. But it's you're taking responsibility for yourself. You're taking responsibility for what you feel and the actions that your feelings cause you, because there's an action that comes from that. You walk in the world a certain way because of your unforgiveness. How do you want to show up? Right? How do you want to show up? Do you want to show up with that? When I'm not forgiving you, I'm giving you power. You have power to make me feel a certain way, when actually nothing could be further from the truth. Come on, look, we got a plate in here we can pass around.
I mean, that was so Good.
Right.
It's rare a guest can throw me off. And I love that we're going down this road because this really is. Look, I never know what the energy is going to be. I don't write questions down. I always tell my guest, this interview is going to be as good as you are, right? And as good as your energy is. If you come open, come with great energy, we're going to get something out of it. But for me, what I'm getting out of this, and I thought I was looking at it from a social construct, right? Dogma. Migration patterns, history, historical views that one would say curses that are being unlocked through someone who has such a global platform to be able to talk about this. But now what I'm really gathering is that this book is also, it can be right? This book is also about healing, right? And helping people heal in a different way. Yeah. I'm a tough guy when it comes to like these self-care and these narratives. I have an amazing therapist that I see very regularly who helps me on this journey. Yeah. But I know how our practice, she and I, is such a uniqueness. For me, I'm a unique individual that takes a unique kind of method. Yeah. And hearing you, the way you frame it is so unique. And my goal audience is that this conversation is healing for you, that allows you to unlock ways that you can heal from your trouble. And for me, that accountability piece is so real because so many people keep holding on to what the grandparents did, you know, to them. And thank you for sharing us and showing us a different way about self-healing, right? And it really does come from self, but what that really means is about you taking accountability.
You taking accountability. Yeah.
Thank you for being so mature on your journey, and thank you for being so vulnerable.
It's a good day.
And
the day is young.
Yeah. Right. But look, that's part of the flaws, though, right? Like that is the flaws and being perfectly imperfect.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
And I think I never thought that, one, I would have KEM on my show. That's number one. I've been a fan since day one. And then I never thought that KEM would help me undo and unlock some healing that I need to do.
Yeah, there you go.
Right?
That's what's up. And that's what
help me recognize that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. In real time.
Yeah, that's what it's about. That's how we help each other.
I think that is why you connect so well with your audiences is the vulnerability, you know, in that. Yeah. Did that always come natural to you in your work?
I mean, that's, you know, I am on stage, you know, I mean, when in the music you hear, my music is the culmination of the things that I talk about in the book. You know, I got a record deal. I was 34, 35 years old. So I had been sober for a decade. So I came with, you know, like, this is just what it is, you know, and I'm very grateful that through my work, I've been able to connect with folks.
Even the fact that you got signed at 34,
yeah,
I think is a powerful statement unto itself.
Timing is everything.
I mean, talk to me what that means for you. Timing is everything by getting signed at 34.
Because I was trying to get a record deal when I was 19 years old, in the throes of my addiction, you know, and if someone had, you know, placed a record deal and a pile of money in front of me at 19 years old, you and I wouldn't be having this conversation. You know, I wasn't prepared. You know, I wasn't ready, you know, and at 34, I was what I received when I was 34, 35 years old was what was appropriate for me at that time of my life. You know, I don't try to force. I have a narrative that I want to express in the world. I have things that I want to do, but at the same time, and as I get older, I also do not want anything that doesn't belong to me. You know, I don't want to force it. You know, it's like, don't give me anything that I'm not prepared to handle, you know.
I think that's a perfect way to end this conversation. Yeah. KEM, share my life, but I do want to ask just one personal question. Okay. If you could peel the layers back of Love Calls. That is one of my favorite songs of yours. Is there any story you can share around the making of Love Calls?
Love Calls is my first #1 record. It's the one that that's the song that put me in the room with you today. That's the one that started it all off, and it was the first single off of the Chemistry album, which I financed myself and released myself. It is, all of my songs are inspired by love. They're inspired by the aching and the yearning for love, and Love Calls was just that record. Of all the songs on the first album, that was the one that I felt like was most suitable to put out into the world as a single, and it's for that reason it is my favorite record.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
From Birth of Shame to Birth of Redemption.
There you go.
Congratulations, KEM. Author now. Very proud of you.
Say that again. What did he say?
Author now. Very proud of
Yeah.
you. KEM, you got to come back on the show some other time, and I would love to keep going further with you, brother.
It would be my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Until next time, folks. Peace.